Welcome back, scholars. This is lesson 6-3.2. Today we're going to be looking at the causes of exploration, really looking at three main reasons why the Europeans, and in particular the Portuguese, began the age of exploration. Let's start with reason number one, religious fervor. The age of exploration was driven in large part by this desire to spread the Christian faith. And we see this already happening before the age of exploration in the Iberian Peninsula. The Iberian Peninsula is in southwest Spain and includes the modern nations of Portugal and Spain. I said southwest Spain, southwest Europe, and includes Spain and Portugal. Now, in the 900s, Christians really get going on a series of wars to retake this peninsula from Muslims. They want to defeat the Islamic powers, push them out, and make this a Christian peninsula. Now, by 1492, important year, the Reconquista is complete. In 1492, the last area still under Islamic control, Granada, was defeated. The Islamic leaders were forced out, and now Christian powers controlled all of Spain. So 1492, Spain and Portugal, two separate areas, are in control of this area. Now, these victorious Christians felt that their victories were the divine will of God, that God had said that Christians should be victorious over the Islamic Empire and over other faiths, and that Christianity should be spread even further. So you look at Spain in the 1400s, 1500s, and they're very much pushing the idea of a Christian world, that Christianity should be spread and they have a duty to do so. Now, where are they going to do that? Well, the biggest possible target would have been the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was not all that far away and had very large non-Christian populations, would have been a good target, except that the Ottoman Empire is just way too strong. And Spain would not have had a chance. We've got those Ottoman Janissaries. We've got a large area of land. Let's really look at this for a second. This is the Ottoman Empire as it is expanding. And in 1492, it controls much of this territory. And here we've got little Spain and Portugal. If they're going to try to expand Christianity, this isn't going to be an area where they have a lot of success. They're simply not strong enough to be able to take on the Ottomans. So they're not going to try to go there. They'll go elsewhere. We'll get there. But let's look at reason number two for a moment. First reason was spread of religion. Second reason is the desire for profit. They want to get rich. They want to have money. And why not? But they've got a problem here. In 1452, Constantinople, 1453, Constantinople had fallen to the Ottoman Empire. And with that fall, the entire western side of the Silk Road is under control of Muslim powers. At this point, we're talking about the Ottomans and the Mamelukes, but of course the Mamelukes are going to lose the Ottomans in the not too distant future, and the Ottomans are going to control all of this. That means that if you've got any sort of conflict with the Ottomans, you're not going to have access to the Silk Road. Now, to earn profits, which they really wanted, they wanted to get this money, you had to look for other ways. You knew that anything you bought from the Ottomans, anything that was coming from China and being purchased from the Ottomans was going to be marked up incredibly. The Ottomans were going to profit on it. You were just going to pay for it. But if you could get to those markets in India and China and buy that pepper, buy that silk directly from the Indians and the Chinese, well, you could make more profit. But how are you going to get there from Spain and Portugal? Well, you're going to need to sail around Africa. And for the first time, Europeans are going to make a significant concerted effort to sail around Africa. Europeans at this time, they actually had no idea at all how big Africa was. They just knew that there were some ports along the north that were controlled by the Ottomans, and then there was a huge desert. They had no idea what was down beyond the desert. So, to learn and to potentially reach Asia, they started to explore the African West Coast to get money. Our third reason, personal fame. There are a lot of people who simply got involved in this because they wanted personal fame. They weren't doing it for country, they weren't doing it for God, they were doing it for their own individual wealth, fame, and power. They wanted to be rich, important people. Let's look at three varieties. Our first individual, Bartholomew Diaz. He's going to be an explorer for Portugal who's really doing this for the first reason. He is doing this because he is a religious individual. He is pushing for the expansion of Christianity into Africa and really helping the Portuguese explore for that reasons. He, of course, has other reasons as well, but this was a big one for him. He was going to do it for God and His Majesty. His Majesty being the majesty of God. Our second individual, Vasco da Gama. He's going to sail for, quote, Christians and spices, saying, yes, of course I'm doing this for religious reasons. We should be doing this for religious reasons, but those spices, that's kind of important too. We should be wealthy. We want to do this to get wealthy for our nation. And then we've got our third individual, and somebody who we're going to circle back to in a future unit, and that is Hernando Cortez. Cortez is a very interesting character, and he is very admittedly not out to do this for the spread of Christianity, although he is Christian and does help it spread. He's not doing this to make his country wealthy, although he does make his country wealthy, and that is a side effect. But why is he doing it? Well, he's doing it to win gold. He's doing it to become a wealthy, famous, powerful individual. That is Cortez's driving motive. He's doing it for this third reason, that personal fame. Now, hopefully, with all three of these fellows, all three of those factors are in play. Sure, Bartholomew Diaz realized that personal fame would come with that, and that's not a bad thing. Da Gama definitely looked at that personal wealth side. But Hernando Cortez is all about doing this for his personal reasons. Now, in order for this to happen, certain things need to be in place. You need to have a powerful central government. These voyages are not cheap. You've got to pay these sailors. You've got to pay for these boats. And you've got to realize that you're going to lose a lot of those along the way. It's dangerous to go out and explore things that you don't know about. And so you need a powerful government who's going to be able to finance these trips. Governments like Spain and Portugal step up and do this early on. The Portuguese will be the first. Spain follows shortly afterward. And they start taking huge chunks of the king's money and buying ships and paying for sailors. These are not initially merchant voyages, although they do become those. These are exploration, and they've got to find out what is out there. So, Prince Henry of Portugal, we've mentioned him before, we'll mention him again and again, is going to be the first to finance large voyages. Prince Henry is going to see the potential benefits of this financially and for spreading Christianity. And he's going to put together money to explore the world. Spain does not want to be left behind in this. And Spain will follow not too far after Portugal gets this whole thing going. Once Spain starts to have some tremendous success, the rest of the world is going to join in this age of exploration. It's going to have some advantages. Let's look at the people who are making these decisions. We've got the governors or the kings and queens of these different territories. They're going to be influenced by it. Once they start to think, hey, there's a tremendous potential for our own personal wealth, but also we don't want our rivals to get very wealthy and us have to challenge them when they've got all these extra resources. So they start to bring in more people into their government that can help them be better explorers. We start to see cosmographers. These are people who study space. And geographers, people who study the earth, coming in and receiving powerful positions in government. You see scientists, not for the first time, but for the first significant time, becoming very influential advisors to European government. Kings and queens spending time with these scientists, hearing what the scientists are saying about the world, and becoming interested in learning more about the world themselves. Now, these ministers, these scientists, being close to the kings and queens, are going to influence these decisions on specific voyages. Captains will come to a king and say, hey, I've got an idea for a voyage. I think this will work. I want to reach India by sailing across the Atlantic Ocean. I know it sounds crazy, but I think I can do it. And these ministers will advise the kings and queens, and they'll say, hey, this sounds like a good idea, or hey, this sounds like garbage. It's actually these very Portuguese ministers who told the King of Portugal, King John, when one of his captains, Christopher Columbus, came to him with an idea to reach India by sailing across the Atlantic Ocean, they said, Columbus's math is wrong. He can't do this. India is simply way too far away. And the irony here, and we'll get into this in greater detail later, is that those advisors were right. Columbus's math was horribly, horribly, horribly wrong. But nobody knew of the existence of North and South America. So these Portuguese advisors who took a look at Columbus's plans and said, yeah, he's not going to reach India, they were right. And the king trusted these advisors, so they pass on Columbus's plan. Christopher Columbus will then later sell that plan to the Spanish. But that's another story. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you next time.